Okay, resuming where I left off yesterday in the last walk around video, I'm at the back of the car now, and I did forget to mention another seal that you need to be aware of. It's the truck seal. This one is in very good condition. Uh, just want to make you aware of that. I've replaced these in other cars before. That's not difficult to do at all, but you want to watch that seal. All right. The next thing down here to make you aware of is there's a small chip right in there out of that black portion of the bumper. Make you aware of that. Also talking about rubber deteriorating, look at the little seal there around the base of the antenna. That ought to be replaced, I think. Think about that. I don't know if it caused any damage, but it could get some water inside. All right. Now, from now on, I'm going to move inside, and we'll go inside the car here and talk about a few things. The first thing I want to discuss is the odometer repair. I think you're probably aware of that. Give you a little bit of feedback or information about how that happened and so on. But shortly after we got the car back from the car collector in Tennessee, my wife and I decided to take a road trip down to San Antonio. And it's about 250 miles down there or so. We took the long route. I don't like driving on I-35 at 70 miles an hour. Not that this car won't do that, but I enjoy driving at 55 or 60 on a two-lane road if possible. So we kind of go over to Fort Worth and then go south from there. We got down to San Antonio. Took us all day. We made a few side trips. Spent several days down there. Then came back and I'd stopped at St. Angelo to fuel up. And if you remember the Excel spreadsheet that I've put a copy of in the photos, I've done this for years in all my cars. Every time I fill up, I always make a note of the mileage and the fuel cost and the amount of gallons entered in the Excel spreadsheet, and I track my miles per gallon that way. Well, I had, of course, did that there, and we were about halfway back to Dallas, and I happened to look down at the odometer, and I noticed it hadn't moved much since I had filled up. So clicked on it, and it started working again, and obviously there was a problem with it. So I did that until we got all back to Dallas. Every time I'd see it stopping, I'd click on it, and it would start running again. So got back, and the pandemic started not too long after that, so I didn't drive it much for several months. But while this was going on, I did try to pull the thing out of the dash, thought I could fix it myself, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. Again, one of those things above my pay grade. So I sent the odometer down to a repair shop in Austin. They repaired it and sent it back. And when I did that, I told them to set the odometer at 91,600. And I did that based on the amount of fuel that I was using. All right, I think I was pretty accurate because my record showed I think it usually gets about 25 miles to gallon in town and about 30 on the highway. And since I got back from San Antonio, we'd not been out in the highway or anything. It was all town driving, so 25 miles to a gallon or so. And that's what I used to put those mileage numbers on that Excel spreadsheet. And I noted that was an estimate. But I think it was pretty accurate. Let's see, the next thing is the dash lamps. We're looking at that. If you're familiar with these W123s, the dash lamps are very dim. Even at you got a rheostat there you can control, but even at the brightest position, they're very, very dim. And so I replaced there's 4 of those lamps. I replaced them with LED lamps, and those will last forever, I think. And plus they were much brighter. I thought it improved the looks of the dash at night much better. The next thing I want to talk about was something I spent an awful lot of time on during the pandemic because I was not driving the car or anything, and that's the seat padding. I had one of the first things I started to do was was replace the shock absorbers, and to do that I pulled out the rear back of the rear seat to get to the top of the shocks, and when I did, I noticed the horsehair padding, and they call that horsehair. It's not really a horsehair, it's a fiber type material, but most all of it had deteriorated, and it was just laying on the floor there on the base of the seat. So uh-oh, there's something I got to do. So before I forget to tell you this, while I was doing this, I decided to go ahead and replace those shocks, and I was really concentrating on the seats at that time, so I just went locally and bought me some Monroe shocks and put them on all four corners of the car, and moved on at that time. Did replace those with Bilstein shocks just fairly recently. I didn't like the way the Monroes were handling. Anyway, that's what caused me to remove that rear seat. So when I did that, I was able to find an OEM, a used OEM pad to fit that seat on eBay. Got it and replaced all that, put it all back together. That was something kind of new to me, and I've got a photo of it when I got all done. I'll post here in a bit, but that turned out pretty well. By the way, to get to the back seat, rear back seat, you got to remove first the bottom part of the seat. And when I did that, noticed that the horsehair padding in there was perfect, in great condition. Not sure why one deteriorated and one didn't. So then I decided, well, maybe I better look at these front seats. So I got under the front, or looked under the front seat, and I saw a lot of the crumbs and stuff that I noticed in the back underneath that front seat, the driver's seat. So I thought, oh, same thing. So I removed the seat and took it out of the car, and sure enough, the padding on that seat and the bottom and the back was just completely deteriorated. It was just trash. We had noticed that when we drove down to San Antonio that the car was not as comfortable. The seats weren't as comfortable as I thought they should be, or as I had. Anyway, so what I saw was there's between the steel springs under the seat here, for example, and this upholstery. And the upholstery's got some foam on the back of it, but what's in there is that padding. And but with that gone, the upholstery was just sitting directly on the steel springs, and so you can imagine how come they felt lousy. And so I went ahead and did all of that. I did sourced a Mercedes source for some advice on how to do this, and he was very, very helpful with that. And I've got a photo of what I did on both of the seats, and also the passenger seat, which was the same condition as this one. And what I did on the bottom at Mercedes source recommendation, I put a piece of really not thick but really kind of heavy foam, a square piece. They kind of ran in this direction here, right in this area. They kind of reinforce those steel springs because they were 40 years old and couldn't be as good as they were new. So I did put that in there, then did it all. It ended up, I think, very, very comfortable. And like I said, I've got a photo of that, and also a photo of the back seat, which I had to do that also. And these front seats on these cars, the control mechanism underneath to the back and forth, and also the up and down, the height adjustment, those are fairly complicated in these Mercedes. And so took all that apart, cleaned it all up, lubricated it, put it all back together on both seats, so that now they work just like new, I think. Something I also want to point out to you here, there's two levers on this seat. The first one up here in the front is, you can see right there, that's the back and forth mechanism. It's pretty straightforward. And the other one's a little bit different that you don't normally see in cars. You just pull this up straight and you're sitting in the seat, and then well, you got it holding it up, you move it back and forth, and that raises and lowers the seat. So it's kind of neat how it works. However, this control rod here, where it attaches down there, it's kind of a weak point, and they tend to break. and sure enough, the one on this side, as I was playing around with it, broke. Uh, Now, if that breaks right now, for example, uh, to repair it, you got to take the seat out of the car, which is kind of not an easy thing to do. But Mercedes Source, again, thankful to them, he come up with a modification, a little handle that you could replace the original one with without ever removing the seat. So I bought two of those, one for each side, and the spare one's in the trunk. It'll go with the car. He even attached a little wrench so that you get down in here and do that easily. So that's a half an hour job. Should be fine on this side, and if the other one breaks, the spares in the trunk. Let's see. Look at my notes here for anything else. Oh, while we're talking about seats, it's amazing the upholstery on these cars. It's a MB-Tex. It's a MB-Tex vinyl. What good a condition it is after all these years. However, when I was working on the back of the backside of the passenger seat, when I was stretching it in place over the padding and everything, one of the seams pulled loose. I tried to repair it, couldn't. So got on eBay and found a replacement that matched perfectly except for the color. It was black. It's not a big problem. All these seats are all dyed at the factory, and that's not hard to do at all. I bought leather dye made specifically for the right color, and re-dyed that black seat to match. And I think you can tell it, comparing the back to the bottom, it's pretty much right on. Really can't tell the difference. So that worked out all right. I wanted you to be aware of that. Oh, let's see. Next thing is when I originally bought the car, I noticed one of the early things I saw was that the seat belt, when you attached it right here, you weren't careful and pushed it down and waited for it to click, you'd think it was in, but it wasn't, which I thought was a safety item. I found myself several times driving and seat belt would pull loose. So I thought, I better, since I'm doing all this work and the seats are out anyway, it's a good time to replace these seat belts. I could have found used ones, but I decided that instead of that, and I'd hate to buy a 40-year-old seat belt and have it break. So I went ahead and I found some seat belts that were made in Germany, and had them shipped over here. They were made just for this car, and then they work out excellent. In fact, they're easier to operate than the original ones are. But the seat belts on both front seats are new replacement belts made in Germany. Let's see, next thing I did was, if you're familiar with these cars, the door locks are, let me close this door and I'll kind of show you here quickly. Go over here and get a key. All right, now going back, the way these operate, if you've not had one of these before, you may not know this, but the driver's side seat here is manual. You can turn that, you can see what happens. The others, though, are vacuum operated. So when you turn this, the other three doors will operate up. This is something you got to be careful of. The car's been sitting here for a couple days, and I've been playing around with these seats, and it's slowly going down. The vacuum does maintain, but there's a limit to how long it'll do that. And so, as soon as I could start the car up, I could redo that and show you how it works. But the passenger side over there was not working, and so I did pull the door card off and repaired that and got it all operating. They all work fine. And I will, after we get down here, I'll start the car up and show you briefly how they work. Let's see. Also, I think I mentioned this earlier in my write-up, but the the radio was stopped working at one point, so I pulled it out and sent it in to Becker Radio. They repaired it, sent it back. That was in October of last year, and it's got a 1-year warranty on that, so that's good for you. Let's see, the last thing I did inside the car was the turn signals. Ever since I bought the car, and it wasn't a big deal, but when you put this up, it wouldn't stay. It would just fall back down by itself. So you'd have to hold it up when you made a right turn, or or hold it down when you made a left turn. So I thought I need to fix that. So again, went back to Mercedes Source. He had a little repair guide how to do that. It took me about an hour. And now, as you can see, when I put it up, it stays there. When I put it down, it stays. And then after you make the turn, it all flops back down right. So it's working perfect. And only one other thing I can think to mention in the car here, that inside, that you need to be aware of, is the you see that light up there? It's a little hard to see because of the sunlight coming in the back window, but that back light up there, you can't tell it here, and I can't tell it if I even get inside and look at it. But if you take a picture of it, you'll see there's some discoloration around in the headliner around the exterior of that light. And when I first saw that, again, one of those things I'd never seen until I was taking pictures for this auction. And the first thing I thought, I got a rust problem. So I pulled the light out and pulled some of that upholstery back and looked at it, and there was nothing in there, no rust whatsoever. But there was some adhesive around the light where the upholstery was folded back, and it looks to me like that adhesive just over the period of many years kind of bled through the upholstery. Not a big deal if I take a picture of it and you'll say, oh, that looks terrible. But without doing that, you'll never notice it. It's not visible really at all. Let's see, that's about everything I can think of. I guess one more thing I could think of while I'm here is the back of the front seats. If you've ever noticed, most of these cars, this deteriorates over years or stretches, and they sag pretty bad. Again, Mercedes Source had a kit for me to repair that, so I bought it and took care of that on the back of both doors. That is all I can think of. Oh, I guess one other thing, when I pulled the front seats out, had to remove the carpet, of course, and so I thought I better take a picture. So I did. I took a picture of the floor without the carpets in it, and you could see all the way from the front of the back seat all the way to the front of the car, and it's no rust whatsoever. So I'm going to attach that picture here shortly also. All right, that's all I can think of here. Next thing I'm going to do after this is do a blow-by test and show you that, and also see if I can, I've got a little handheld RPM meter that I can use to set the idle with. I want to show you the difference between the idle adjustment for a cold start and then during the normal idle with that turned back. And that's it. Thank you very much.